So this is my green takeaway. What are the major takeaways from the project? So I'm going to try and cover at least most of the aspects of the project. I think we've demonstrated we were able to create an effective HMI design with all the methods that Antonella was talking about. I mean, it's not something you do in 5 minutes. We had lots of ideas at the beginning. Some of those ideas were good, and some of them were probably quite lousy. And, you know, every little detail. How do you do the foot? There's 10 different ways to do the foot off the accelerator. We had to assess that. There was a little bit of guidance from previous projects, but actually very little. So we were almost starting with a blank. I mean, we knew what the OEMs had done, but beyond that, there wasn't really very much. So I think we got a good, effective HMI. We were able to get good driver compliance. And we haven't told you a huge amount about compliance, but of course the compliance model was behind what we did in SP5, and generally it was quite positive. And we were able to do that while maintaining driver attention to the road and traffic. Of course, that's a balance you always have to do. Energy calculation. Well, I think you've heard this performs better if we have access to real-time vehicle-based information. For the feds, we built this highly capable energy calculator, the VE3. It can assimilate lots of information and recalculate fast in real time. So all that optimization that Dennis talked about, which I didn't even fully understand until he started to prepare his presentations and we went through the rehearsals, I have to admit, all that optimization really, really works. I mean, it's selecting, every second it's selecting among thousands of alternatives. And you can do that. And you can even do that on a, not as he answered a question, I think, on a not very expensive ECU. So that can be done. But the OEM ones are even better than that. So there's another lesson, you know, the OEMs know their vehicles best. Driver behavior and energy. We got good compliance, as I said. We obtained significant energy savings. And I think much to our surprise, really, we got very large safety effects. And safety effects, of course, are based on the speed, acceleration, whatever, but we know how those translate into accident and injury savings. So I think we can be confident of those results. Technologies and HMI. I think that's a future Daimler vehicle, so I thought that was appropriate for Stuttgart, although that doesn't really look like Stuttgart in the background. We don't have to wait for automation and connectivity and all these wonderful futuristic technologies, which will no doubt be with us in 50 years' time, to deliver energy savings. We can do it now, and it's cost effective. And additionally, driving echo, as I think we've been telling you, is very complex. It's not intuitive. Drivers need continuous support and advice. They need to know what to do in this particular situation. Daz didn't mention, but one of the things we learned when we did the haptic control, that when we switched the haptic control off, they forgot how to drive echo in the simulator. They couldn't go over the hill any longer, nicely guided by the haptic support. They were pretty much back to baseline. So they do need the advice, they do need the support. We can discuss whether people learn, but they don't seem to learn that well for something that's so difficult. Deployment. So widely deployed, the project systems can make a real contribution to CO2 targets for transport. That's a big challenge now. It's not a challenge just for the project. The challenge for Europe is a challenge for the world. The benefit to cost ratios are potentially excellent. And then in the audience we heard, well, you said 250 euros, I can make it for 2.5 euros. Well, then they're even better. if we're to believe that. But it's nice to hear that it could be that cheap. But there's a need for the relevant authorities to promote these systems if they're serious about achieving environmental targets. And maybe the world leaders are serious, but they have to put their money where their mouths are, so to speak. And then finally, somebody who isn't here is our great project officer. She really cared about our success in the project, and so I'd like a round of applause for her. So, thank you very much.